Hello, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I am Lance Brock. As always, thank you for tuning in to this Sunday night and episode 330. Tomorrow starts, will be my first day of bell ringing this year for the Salvation Army. This is my 5th year, and I just want to say also support the other bell ringers out there. If you see one out there, if you have any spare change, or if you can spare a couple dollars, put some in the kettle. It helps out a lot. And to start off with this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, I'm going to talk about last night's Survivor Series. Live from Boston, the commentators for this premium live event, Michael Cole and Corey Graves. And we start things off with a very entertaining opening video with Ozzy. Of course, we hear the theme song for Survivor Series this year, War Pigs by Black Sabbath. I really enjoyed this video with Ozzy in it. Thought he was great. And then we kick things off in the arena. Opening the PLE is the Women's War Games match. Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Mia Yim, and the Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair taking on the team of Rhea Ripley, Nikki Cross, and Damage Control. And before I get into this match, I just want to say War Games, maybe I'm being a little picky, but I have not been the biggest fan of the way WWE does it. I know might be just something small, but I don't like that they don't have the top on the cage, and maybe it's just I'm used to that, and that kind of takes away some of my interest. And I don't know, it's just for some reason the way WWE does War Games, I just really haven't cared for. And I'm not saying none of the matches were bad or anything. Any of them were, don't get me wrong, they were good matches, but not quite the same as the WCW War Games. And to be honest, the two blood and guts matches that AEW has had has reminded me more of the original War Games. I don't know if it's because they have the blood in it and the ceiling too, of course, but those remind me more of the original War Games. And I don't know, I think the cages, I should say, they have at the entrances where they have the superstars in, and I remember that, now that I'm not too big of a fan of either, and I remember the original one, they just used to have everybody at ringside, and they used to have 2 different doors on each side, where when the time was up, one used to just go in the door. They didn't lock them in the cage or anything. And, okay, so now let's get on to the match. And we start things off. The first 2 in the ring, and the advantage went to Damage Control. We start off with Bianca Belair and Dakota Kai. And then we see Io Sky come in 2-on-1, and then Asuka is the next for her team, and then Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss, Bailey, Mia Yim, followed by Rhea Ripley, and then the last to come in is Becky Lynch, who recently returned on SmackDown last Friday night. And then Becky Lynch pins Rhea Ripley, 39 minutes 58 seconds. Good match, but like I said, it's kind of been hard for me to kind of get into WWE's War Games. This is the first main roster one. Of course, all the other ones have been on NXT, and I'm definitely all for having women's War Game matches, but good match, but didn't think it was real great though, but definitely not bad at all though. And next up, we have Finn Balor being accompanied by Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio, which of course this made sense not to have Rhea Ripley at ringside or Mia Yim out there with AJ Styles, since they were just in the War Games match. Good match here, focusing on the history of these two with the Bullet Club, well now the OC. AJ picks up the win here with a phenomenal forearm at 18 minutes 22 seconds. So I thought this match was good here. It'll be interesting to see if that was the end of the feud or if it will continue. Before I continue with the Survivor Series, I want to mention the video from Thanksgiving that came out on WWE social media with Dominic and Rhea Ripley visiting Dominic's family's home, and Dominic attacking Ray, breaking a picture over his head, and I'm sure this is going to go for a while. The latest that I've read is it could go till Mania, which I think is a good idea. Let it build for a while and then have a really big match at WrestleMania next year between the father and the son. And I think it would be good if they actually make it a mask versus hair match. Would WWE actually put that stipulation on it? I don't know, but I think they should have that match at WrestleMania, mask versus hair. And now let's get back on to the Survivor Series. Next up, the SmackDown Women's Championship is on the line. Shotzi Blackheart challenging the SmackDown Women's Champion Ronda Rousey. This one's okay match. Nothing bad about it at all, but I wouldn't say it was real great either. Rousey retains with a submission win. And like I said, an okay match. The WWE United States Championship is now on the line. Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory versus Seth Rollins. I thought this was actually a quite entertaining match. Better than I thought it was going to be. And after cashing in Money in the Bank a little while back and failing to win the United States title, it is Austin Theory winning this one to become the new United States champion at 14 minutes 50 seconds. Good match here. So it'd be interesting to see what is next for Austin Theory. And now it is time for the main event of the evening. And it is the men's War Games match. We have Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, and the Brawling Brutes taking on the Bloodline. And I just want to talk about a couple of things that happened earlier in the night. We see Jey Uso and Roman Reigns in the back, and Jey tells Roman about how he overheard Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn talking, and how Sami lied to him about, and he said he wasn't talking to anybody. And then Roman said he'll look into Sami's eyes and he'll know what to do. And later it shows Sami go in there, and Sami says he said that Jey had a lot on his plate. He didn't want to tell him about that, make things worse. And he gives Zayn a hug, and then now it is time for War Games. And we start things off with the Brawling Brutes having the advantage. It is Butch and Jey Uso. And then next up is Ridge Holland. And then next for the Bloodline, it looks like it's going to be Jimmy Uso. But then instead, Roman Reigns sends Sami Zayn out because he wants him and Jey Uso to learn to work together. And Sami, during the match, tries to help Jey Uso, does the right thing, but Jey Uso doesn't look too happy about it. And next up, Drew McIntyre. Then he's followed by Jimmy Uso and Kevin Owens, Solo Sikoa, Sheamus, and then finally Roman Reigns comes out to officially begin War Games. And there's one spot where Jey Uso goes to super kick Butch, but hits Sami by mistake. But he kind of looks happy about it. And then the Usos hit Butch with a 1D. And then we see Kevin Owens looks like he's about to get the win. And then Sami Zayn comes over, grabs the referee's arm, keeping him from counting to 3. And they have a face-to-face, and Jey Uso hits Kevin Owens with a super kick, and then Sami Zayn hits him with a low blow, and then Sami now looks like he kind of feels bad about it, doing that to his best friend, and he looks at Roman a little bit, and then finally he hits Owens with a haluva kick, and then tells Jey to go up and get the splash. And Jey Uso does it to get the win for the Bloodline. And then we see Roman and give Sami Zayn a hug, and then finally we see Jey Uso hug Sami Zayn, and then the Bloodline celebrates the victory as the Survivor Series goes off the air. So overall, that was the Survivor Series War Games. And I thought it was a pretty good show. And I wouldn't say it was real great, but very good, I thought. And especially the main event, the finish of it, Sami Zayn, even though he's on the heel team, definitely one of the top baby faces in WWE right now. And he just did this really well, looking conflicted about after he hit Owens with that low blow and just before he did the haluva kick. Will be interesting to see on SmackDown coming up. Maybe they'll have like a special bloodline celebration for the honorary Uce, or maybe now he won't be the honorary Uce anymore. Maybe he'll just be a regular Uce. Who knows? And we'll have to see who is next to face Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. And there is not another main roster premium live event until the Royal Rumble in January. And then, of course, that will start the road to WrestleMania. So, definitely interested to see what will happen this week on Raw and SmackDown. And speaking of premium live events, we have NXT's, what's that called? I don't remember, but they're supposed to have that new, crazy sounding match, with the penalty boxes and, I can't think of the name of what they're calling it now. Got that. Or Deadline, isn't it? It might be Deadline. And just to talk about a few shows that took place this weekend, I should say, from Big Time Wrestling. And started off Friday with FTR having matches on each show. And first, Friday, they faced the team of Brock Anderson and Brian Pillman Jr. with Bret Hart in their corner. And last night, they faced the Rock and Roll Express, who are on their farewell tour. And then tonight, the return of the Dragon Show, which of course featured the legendary Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in a 6-man tag where he teamed with FTR, and they took on the team of Brock Anderson, Jay Lethal, who brought back Black Machismo for one night only, I'm guessing, and a mystery partner, which turned out to be former NWA World Champion Nick Aldis, and of course, Brock Anderson's father, Arn Anderson, was in their corner. Pretty good match. Steamboat was in, not a whole lot. He looked pretty good. I'm going to say, like I said, he didn't really do a whole lot in the match, but he didn't look bad at all. And I recommend the shows. You can order the replays. You can order the bundle with all 3 shows. Probably the better deal. Instead of ordering each show separate, they are available on Fight TV, the Fight app. Also, talk about a couple AEW notes real quick. Last Wednesday, on the Thanksgiving Eve episode of Dynamite. Jericho defeating Tomohiro Ishii. But before that, the show kicked off with William Regal and informing everyone that MJF was not there and he would explain himself next week. And of course, Moxie came out wanting revenge, but then he was stopped by Bryan Danielson sticking up for Regal. And then he told him to run and never come back. So it will definitely be interesting to see what happens next with that. And then we've seen the return of the House of Black. Also, Absolute Ricky Starks winning the Full Gear World Title Eliminator Tournament against All Ego Ethan Page. And now he will face MJF for the AEW World Championship at Winter is Coming, which I do not expect them to put the title on Starks. Not right now anyway. Possibly in the future. Could happen, but not just yet, I don't think. But I think that'll be a very good match, though. Also on the Thanksgiving Eve episode of Dynamite, the Death Triangle went up 2-0 in the best of 7 series against the Elite for the AEW Trios Championship. Of course, which as expected, the Elite were definitely heels there in Chicago at the Wintrust Arena. And then on the Black Friday episode of Rampage, the most notable thing that took place was the betrayal of 10 Preston Vance, turning his back on the Dark Order, attacking John Silver and Evil Uno, right, and Alex Reynolds as well, right in front of -1 Brody Lee Jr. joining Roosh and taking the mask off and dropping it right in front of -1. Definitely interesting to see what's going to happen next with the Dark Order. They've now have lost Anna Jay, gone. Alan 5 Angels is gone. And before that, Stu Grayson. So now just down to Evil Uno, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and if you can count -1. So unfortunately, it doesn't look too good for the Dark Order. And that's it for this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Thank you for listening to here on Spreaker or wherever you may be listening. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, the email 360wrestlingpodcast@gmail.com. And remember, the 360 Wrestling Podcast YouTube channels, you can check those out. Available now is the November 2022, I should say, Pro Wrestling Crate unboxing. Check that out. Had some good stuff in this month's crate. And like I said, tomorrow is my first day this year of bell ringing. And hopefully we'll do good this year. Remember, if you see any other bell ringers out there, support the Salvation Army. Put some in the kettle. Until the next episode, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.